All right, so for this video, I'm going to talk about evaluating function and expressions in written function notation, but we're not going to be evaluating numbers into a function. We're going to be evaluating variables or either a variable expression. And sometimes I'm trying to see if I went ahead and put composite functions on here. Let me look. No, I didn't do any composite functions. Okay, I was trying to give you algebra 2 stuff. Okay, let me slow down. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just kind of recap what we've learned. This is all a recall. So if I told you to evaluate f of x equals to, we'll say the absolute value of 2x squared minus 1 plus 5 for f of negative 2, then all you would do is look in your parentheses here and say inside the parentheses is a negative 2. So inside the parentheses is my domain or my input. So I'm putting in an x of negative 2. All right, so everywhere I see an x, I will put in negative 2. So we end up with absolute value of 2 times negative 2 squared minus 1 plus 5. And I will just go from there and simplify. That would be 2 times 4 minus 1 plus 5. 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 minus 1 is 7. But the absolute value of 7 is 7. So I'm going over here, guys. I would end up with 8 minus 1 in absolute value, so that's 7 plus 5. So f of negative 2 is equal to 12. Okay, so that would be my output, also known as my range, guys. But my domain was a number. Okay, so the difference today is your domain won't be a number. Your input may be something like a variable expression, an algebraic expression. And after you evaluate some variable or variable expression, guys, you might have to do something else to it. So this is multiple steps. All right, so let's take a look at K. It says if g of x is equal to 2x plus 4, find g of a plus 5. So here my domain is a plus 5, guys. Not a, it's a plus 5. So where I see x, I put in a plus 5. Usually where I would see x, I just put in like a regular number, but in the parentheses this time, I got a plus 5. So when your domain is an algebraic expression, your range or your output will also be some algebraic expression. When your domain is a number, your output will be a number. Like here, my domain was a number. It was a number negative 2. My output was the number 12. Here, my domain is some algebraic expression. It's a plus 5. My answer is going to be some algebraic expression, my output. So I'm going to change every x to a plus 5. 2 times a plus 5 instead of 2 times x, 2 times a plus 5, and then plus 4. And then I just simplify on the right side. I get to use the distributive property to simplify my expression. 2 times a is 2a, 2 times 5 is 10, and plus 4. And then I get to combine like terms on the right side. So g evaluated at the algebraic expression a plus 5 ends up being 2a plus 14. All right, let's try this next one. All right, so look at L. We have if g of x is equal to x squared plus 5x minus 6, find g of 2b. So Now my domain is 2b. So 2b is what I put in for x. So I send x here, here, and here. So each one of those x's will be replaced with 2b. So g of 2b is going to be 2b squared. I hope everybody knows that 2b squared, because I want to talk about this a little bit. It's just 2b times 2b. So it's 4b squared. Okay. Then you have 2b squared plus, so the x squared is 2b squared plus 5 times 2b minus 6. And I've already gone over what 2b times 2b is. 2b times 2b equals 4b squared, because I got two b's. Okay, and 2 times 2 is 4, and I got two b's. 5 times 2b is 10b minus 6, and you don't have any like terms, so that's as far as you can get with it. If you ended up with something like this, 3b squared, now let me change that. 3b cubed squared, it's just 3b cubed times 3b cubed, which is 9b to the 6th power. Because 3b's plus 3 more b's make 6b's. But 3 times 3 is 9. Just to kind of reiterate that. You learned that last year. But you may not remember properties of exponents, okay? All right, let's take a look at M. M, I do have a number for my domain. So your domain is simply what's in parentheses. It says if f of x is equal to 2x minus 4, find f of 5 minus 12. Okay, well, I'm going to draw it up here. Your domain is 5. So in this particular case, it does end up being a number. So I am going to get a number for my answer. But not only do I need to find f of 5, in other words, not only do I need to change my x to a 5, after I do that and simplify, then I need to subtract 12 from whatever I get. And it tells me that first you're going to find f of 12. And then second, you're going to subtract 12. So it's kind of like two steps. So first, let's find f of 5. I promised an f of 12. First, you're going to find f of 5, and then you're going to subtract 12. So first of all, I'm just going to change every x to a 5 and find f of 5. So f of 5 is just 10 minus 4, which is 6. So I found f of 5, but it says after you find f of 5, you need to subtract 12. So I'm going to rewrite this. F of 5 ended up being 6. So now it's just 6 minus 12. So my final answer is negative 6. Because I have to take 12 away from my answer for f of 5. Okay, let's take a look at n. N is the same way. And inside of my parentheses, I see a 3. So I'm going to replace x with 3. I'm going to get a regular number for this one. Replace x with 3. Now, after I replace x with 3 and simplify, then I get to add 8 to my answer. Okay, so this is first. And after I do that, I'll add 8 to it. So let's change every x to a 3. Let's do that first. So we end with negative 9 minus 2. So f of 3 is negative 11. So I already know. I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite this, okay? I found this and it was negative 11. Now I add 8 to it. So my final answer is negative 3. And that's how you do those. All right. O is a tad bit different. O, look inside of the parentheses. It says, if f of x is equal to x plus 4, find 2 times f of negative 8. Yeah, this means 2 times, guys. 2 times this. Not 2 times 8, but 2 times f of negative 8. So the first thing you're going to do is inside of your bracket, kind of like following order of operations. First, you're going to find f of negative 8. Then multiply by 2. So let's find f of negative 8. So x is going to be 8, not 8, but negative 8. So I end up with negative 8 plus 4, which is negative 4. So I found f of negative 8. I'm going to write this back down. This gets replaced with negative 4. So 2 times negative 4 equals negative 8. That's my final answer. That's all you do. Ooh, pizza. And it's got 3 parts to it. All right, so, excuse me. You should be able to look over here and tell what your domain is going to be. Well, your domain is always inside of the parentheses, okay? So I already know, first of all, I'm working inside these brackets, and I'm going to change x to 4m. And then if I'm working inside the bracket first, because I'm using order of operations, PEMDAS, you work inside of brackets or parentheses first. After you change x to 4m, the second thing you're going to do is subtract 1 from that answer. And then there's a third thing you're going to do. So after you input the 4m, you subtract 1, then I need you to multiply that entire answer by 2. That's the third thing, multiply by 2. And how did I know to do these first? They were in the bracket. And I'm following order of what? Operations. Do this in the bracket first. Okay, so first of all, let's find an x of 4m. So I'm going to change this x to 4m, change the x to 4m. So I ended with 16m minus 5. Okay, check. I've done that. I changed my x to 4m. I've simplified it as much as possible. And then it says, after you change your, figure out or find g of 4m, I need to subtract 1. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 from this. So now I end up with 16m minus 6. Okay, then, done that. Then I just need to take my final answer, all of this, which is this, and multiply it by 2. Okay, so 2 times 16m minus 6. And you can use parentheses if you want to. You don't have to use the bracket. I'm just going to put the bracket back because that's what we started with. So 2 times 16m is 32m. And 2 times -6 is -12. So my final answer is 32m minus 12. Basically, can you follow the steps? If you can't read this, yeah, you're in trouble. Because if you can't read it, there's no way you can follow the steps. You don't know to do this first. You don't know to subtract 1 second. You don't know to multiply third. You don't even know what any of this stands for. So I suggest that if you are thoroughly confused on this, pause the video now and raise your hand. Or come see me 6 period. So again, this is first. This is second. This is first because it's in my parentheses. This is second because it's inside of my bracket. And then this is last. I multiply by 2 in the end because I'm following order of operations, guys. All right, let's take a look at this. Okay, we got an application problem. Anthropologists use the length of certain bones of human skeleton, and it's the remains, guys, to estimate the height of a person. Usually that's what we're looking at. They look at one of these bones is called the femur, which is in your leg. It's the upper part of your leg, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the right one. To estimate the height in centimeters of a female, I don't know what happened. What they use this function. It got cut off, guys. I apologize about that. So it says to estimate the height in centimeters of a female femur length. Okay, we're not really cut off. I don't know why that's over there. I don't know. That's weird. And I don't know why this is here either. That's bothering me. All right, it says anthropologists use the length of certain bones of a human skeleton to estimate the height of a person. So they can look at a femur, like a femur bone. They're looking at skeletal remains and estimate about how tall that person was if they just have the femur. How tall that female was by using this function. So it says find h of 46. So let's talk about what this 46 is. 46 is my x. It's an x of 46. But what does my x refer to? So here it says x refers to the femur length. Okay? And it's in terms of centimeters. So it's 46 centimeters, guys. So I'm going to find h of 46. I'm going to write my formula, or write my function, and find h of 46. I'm thinking I cut part of the notes off because we went to P. You should have had a Q and you should have had an R, but what happens is sometimes I will download from Microsoft Word, which is what I created them in, to Google Docs, and it reformats my work. So now we missed example Q and R. We're not going to worry about it. So I hope you're okay on function notation. Let's finish this. I'm going to do 2.32, 2 and 32 hundredths times 46. And let's see what we get. 2 and 32 hundredths times 46 ends up being 106.72. And add that to 61 and 41 hundredths. So if bones were found and there was a femur length of 46 centimeters, it is estimated that that female was 168.13 centimeters in height, guys. That's how tall she was. So it says dismiss. All right, so it says, what does this mean? It means a female with a femur length of 46 centimeters is 168.13 centimeters tall. That's all that means. Be curious to see how many feet that is. Let me look this up. How many centimeters in a foot? 30. Let's divide this by 30. It's actually 30.48. Okay. I get a better estimation if I use the decimal. Okay, so let's see. 168.13 divided by 30 and 48 hundredths. 5.5. 5.5 feet, approximately. I round it, guys. Approximately 5.5 feet tall. Okay, let's take a look at this last part. Sorry, I skipped out on Q and R. I apologize. Did not know that it shifted when I converted my Word document to Google Docs. All right, it says, given this graph is what it should say with f of x, because you got this function f of x. This function is just this graph right here. Okay, it's just this graph. Find each of the following. So I need to find f of -4. Well, -4 is my domain. My domain is x. So when my domain, or x, is 4, what is my range, or y? Okay, when you got a domain of -4, what is your range? Basically, when it says find f of -4, what's the y value equal to? So I'm going to go to the graph. I'm going to go to an x of -4. That's 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. When my x is -4, my y value is +2. That's -4. That point is -4, +2. So f -4 is +2. Okay. All right, let's take a look at another one. This says find f of 0. So when my x is 0, what's my y? Okay, when my domain is 0, what's my range? Okay, so there's an x of 0, but the y is also 0. So 0, 0. So f of 0 is 0. All right, and then next it says find f of 2. So when my x is 2, 1, 2, that's that point right here. That's an x of 2. It has an x of 2, but it has a y of -2. So f of 2 is -2. And I got one more to find. It says find f of 5. So when my x is 5, because what's in parentheses is always your x, what's my y? Okay. Let me erase some of this stuff. And my x is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When my x is 5, it's a graph right here. It's that point of the graph right here. So that's the point 5. But it's also at -1. 5, -1. So when my x is 5, the y value is -1. So f of 5 is -1. And that's how you would do those. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you.